Hello and a very warm welcome on behalf of Schneider Electric and Aviva. We're delighted to welcome Rio Tinto, Valet and IDC as we discuss how digitalization and industrial software are making the mining, metals and minerals industries cleaner, safer, more efficient and therefore more sustainable. And it's great to see you, our friends from the global media, joining us in this discussion. We very much want to hear from you, so do please put your questions and comments into the chat box, and I'll be putting those questions to the panel on your behalf. So do please tell us your name and publication or broadcast organisation that you represent, and to whom you'd like to put your question. But first, let me introduce you to our expert panel. Benjamin Kirkwood is Senior Researcher at the global market research firm IDC. Paramita Das is General Manager of Global Marketing and Development at Rio Tinto, one of the world's leading global mining groups focused on finding, mining and processing the world's minerals. Gilberto da Cunha Vieira is Electrical and Automation Engineer Leader at the mining group Valet. He's joined today by Paulo Henrique Fontes Cora, Valet's Senior Automation Leader. Both Gilberto and Paulo join us from Valet's HQ in Brazil. But Valet's operations, of course, cover 30 countries and as such has a mission shared by every member of this panel, and that is to safely and efficiently transform natural resources into prosperity and sustainable development. And our hosts, David and Martin. David Willick is Vice President and Regional Leader for Mining, Minerals and Metals at Schneider Electric, the leader in digital transformation of energy and automation. Martin Provencher is Industry Principal for Mining, Metals and Materials at Aviva, the global leader in industrial software. Ladies and gentlemen, your panel. Benjamin Kirkwood, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us from Sydney, Australia. Benjamin, as the Senior Researcher at IDC, the Global Research Leader, it would be fitting for you to lead us in this discussion. Would you be kind enough to kick us off? Ben.
Apologies. Thank you very much for having me, Susan. It's great to be here. Now, IDC research shows that 71% of mining, metals and minerals organisations have formal executive-sponsored sustainable initiatives in place. Now, this shows that sustainability support comes from the top. Now, g'day everybody, I'm Ben Kirkwood. I lead IDC's Energy Insights mining program around the world. Now, that statistic is quite important, and it's certainly reinforced by our latest mining survey data that shows that the top focus for strategic objectives, for mining organisations throughout 2021 is also sustainability. Now, sustainability has traditionally been one of these, nice to have type areas, and but organisations are very rapidly understanding that having sustainable initiatives in place improve things like your brand equity, it helps you with your compliance to regulations, and of course it helps you to in your ability to reduce adverse events taking place. So organisations are rapidly turning to technology to assist them with this. Now, I started with saying sustainability support comes from the top, and I just want to reiterate that actually does, and it comes with a lot of weight. And what we found is that most major mining, minerals and metals organisations, their executives' bonus structures are tied to sustainable key performance indicators. So that's to say that these organisations, their CEOs' bonus structure is directly dependent on the sustainable credentials of those organisations. So well and truly, support does come from the top. Now, what is sustainability in the industry? The United Nations in 2015 set out 17 sustainable development goals with the intention of making the world a better and more sustainable place. Now, those 17 SDGs were mapped to the industry, And from that, it was identified that clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and life on the land are the 5 SDGs that are most greatly impacted or have the greatest potential to be impacted upon by mining, minerals and metals organisations and their operations. And to further support the ability for these organisations to impact that is further IDC research shows that sustainability strategy improvement has been identified as the top driver for the future of mining organisations as well. Now, I suppose the really big question is, how is it possible that organisations can make their practice, can improve upon their sustainability practices? And that comes down to technology. Technology plays a massive role in this and is a really massive enabler for it. So utilising technology, organisations are able to capture the data throughout their mining organisation and their operations. And they can use that to provide them with the visibility and create the insights that's required to do things like to implement sustainable initiatives. Now, our research shows that more than 85% of organisations either currently or plan to implement operational metrics that are directly linked to sustainability. Similarly, organisations can use this technology to implement systems such as short interval control or asset performance management platforms. And that really enables organisations to optimise the resources that they do consume. And now, similarly, once organisations are utilising different technologies to capture the data, they quickly understand how much energy they're consuming, and then they can implement different practices to bring that down. But then they can also utilise that information to go to their supplier and demand better sources of that energy in the first place. Now, again, we're seeing that close to 90% of organisations currently or plan to implement energy data measurement in order to enable their carbon management systems. Now, that's what data can do. What technology also enables is this notion of designing sustainably. So 50% of organisations are currently assessing the potential for EH&S impacts from adverse events that take place from assets. So this means that organisations are actively looking at their equipment and their processes and assessing whether or not that equipment or the processes can actually create or cause harm to either the workforce or the environment in which they operate in. And in most instances, if that risk is too high or the event is too concerning, then the organisations simply won't purchase that equipment. And again, technology plays that role in being able to choose different areas or design things with a sustainable mindset. And then, so how do organisations adopt these sustainability practices? So first up, they have to develop a comprehensive strategic plan, and that has to be mapped to the sustainable goals of those organisations. Once they have that plan, once they've mapped that plan to the goals, then they have to identify the different technologies that are available to facilitate the implementation of that plan, and also which will assist them to reach those goals. Similarly, once they identify those technologies, they have to assess whether or not the organisation has got the talent capabilities within it. And in most instances, or at least many instances, they'll find that the talent to utilise most emerging technologies is very hard to come by. So leveraging your vendor partners as part of this is an excellent way to sort of address the knowledge and the capability gaps that tend to exist in that sort of area. Once that's been overcome, then what you need to do is take all of your information and your insights gleaned from all of your different systems that you've implemented across your site, and really bring them in a holistic manner together, so that then you can, once you have that, a holistic data set and insights, you can rapidly utilize that to optimize your assets and your processes accordingly. And that will lead to a very sustainable operation and a far more sustainable industry for now and into the future. So thank you again. Thank you very much for having me, Susan, and over to you. Thank you.
Ben, thanks very much indeed. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that direct link to sustainability and profitability later when we get to your questions. But for now, let's go from Sydney to Toronto, Canada, and hear from one of our hosts, Schneider Electric, in the form of Vice President and Regional Leader for Mining, David Willick. David, great to see you.
Great to see you as well, Susan, and very happy to be here. So a roadmap to decarbonization through sustainable mining and metals. So I'm going to touch upon a number of the themes that were just mentioned. But first, let's look at what decarbonization really means. And around the world, what we're seeing is a significant number of customers and companies from all different industry groups are setting net zero carbon emission targets. And those targets are great, and it's very progressive. And what it really means to us is that this low carbon future really needs more mining. When you look at it from electric vehicles, for example, they require about 6 times more mined elements than internal combustion engines. There's 3 times more copper used in an electric vehicle than a traditional vehicle, 14 times more nickel, 9 times more lithium. So a significant increase in mined elements required. And when you look at renewable energy and wind turbines and solar panels, all require more mined elements. Even our trusted mobile phones have about 40 mined elements that are part of every single one of our smartphones. So really, when you look at a decarbonized world, it needs more mining. And so a recent statistic is that in the next 25 years, the global copper production has to equal about the same amount as what was mined in the last 5,000 years. So pretty stark and a pretty interesting statistic for going forward in the mining and what's required. Now, when it comes to our sustainability approach, Schneider Electric over 15 years ago set forth a sustainable strategy. And we've been executing on that strategy for over 15 years and really learning a lot about it. And as we help to decarbonize ourselves and implemented our own strategy, now we're taking that strategy and the lessons learned as a result of it and really helping other companies around the world in all different industries decarbonize as well and improve on their sustainable journey. So from setting strategies to moving forward and decarbonizing and helping on energy transition, we're doing that for ourselves, and we're also doing that for many of our customers, which we're going to hear from a little bit later today. So when we look at sustainability, we really have to define sustainability from the start. And we believe that the responsible material transition has to be scaled up just as ambitiously as the renewable energy transition. It's not good enough to be 100% renewable energy. We need to ensure that mineral extraction is done in the most sustainable way. And there are many companies that are leading by example when it comes to this type of approach, including Rio Tinto, Elysis, and several other companies that are really looking at decarbonization from the source as we want them to, and ensuring that the extraction is done in the most sustainable way using a low carbon approach. And we're going to hear directly from Rio Tinto a little bit later about their approach to decarbonization of aluminum and other materials. Now, the approach that we use is tied to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And it's an evolution approach through a series of steps and different programs. And you can start at the beginning with energy efficiency and go through various steps to yield improvement and then ultimately get the outcome of a lower greenhouse gas emissions and adopt these lower emissions targets and implement the strategy to essentially use energy more effectively and lower your consumption of electricity at the same time as increasing your yield improvement. And that's what we call the evolution approach to it. But there's a revolution approach to it as well when we do a step change transformation from traditional methods over to what we call green methods. And this is the zero carbon approach to zero carbon metal production, zero carbon glass, zero carbon steel, zero carbon cement. And many of those processes are now in development or actively being engineered and executed now. So as the 2021 world's most sustainable company, Schneider Electric is proud to have received that distinction from the Corporate Knights. And we believe, and there's no absolute substitutes for the mined elements that are required for our digital connected future world. And true sustainability really does start at the source of mineral extraction. So thank you, and back to you, Susan.
David, thanks very much, and looking forward to hearing more about the evolution, the revolution. And you mentioned that we wanted to hear from Rio Tinto, so let's do that right now and cross to Chicago, where we welcome Paramita Das, General Manager of Global Marketing and Development at Rio Tinto. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Susan. Great to be here. Hello, everybody. Allow me to move the conversation to focus further down the metal and mining value chain. As David mentioned, mined and metal products are all around us. Our homes, cars, cell phones, planes, everything we see or use have some link or origination from commodities in some form or fashion. Now, industry fragmentation usually slows down innovation cycles, but a well-connected value chain, however, positions commodities better versus high carbon alternatives. Look, COVID-19 has brought economic and social disruptions that we can all admit to. But one thing remained unchanged: the demand on sustainability from our customers and consumers. Consumers wanted to know where the products are coming from, what they use, what the ingredients are, and whether they are responsibly sourced. And more than ever, they are prepared to vote with their wallets. In response, companies globally have been setting ambitious targets to cut global emissions and enhance their sustainability credentials. Rio Tinto is no different. Our ambition is to reach net zero emissions by 2050. This reflects increased scrutiny from consumers and our customers who are facing more stringent regulations arising from green policies, as Benjamin mentioned. We also saw all the announcements from EU yesterday as a point of reference. Now, governments have been ramping up mandatory requirements and incentives to motivate companies to accelerate their ESG progress. We saw that with European Parliament backing a carbon border adjustment mechanism, CBAM, lead in the US Green Building Council, and lately President Biden has announced his Buy Clean policy. There is also sustainability reporting, which is now mandatory for large companies in many countries. And the list of regulations deployed by government goes on. The same views are being taken by institutional shareholders as well. ESG funds, for example, captured approximately $51.1 billion of net new money from investors in 2020, more than double 2019 efforts. This shows a trend. Businesses committed to ESG goals will certainly benefit from this new paradigm. And the omnipresence of metal and mining sector says that we do have a role to play. So where are we today? Let me give you an example. The automotive sector is often under the sustainability spotlight. Automakers are playing their role in efforts to reduce global emissions, and David gave a great example of the electric vehicle sector. But OEMs are adopting sustainability initiatives faster than their suppliers. In fact, they are advancing much faster than suppliers in two high priority areas: sustainable manufacturing and supporting and promoting a circular economy. The automotive sector is a major customer segment for almost all commodities. As upstream and midstream suppliers, we must do our part to contribute to the sector's sustainability journey. Now, at Rio, we need to be a part of the solution. We acknowledge that. We have been working on sustainability for over a decade now and across our product suite. We are working on recycling. We are working with and evaluating solar, wind, and cutting-edge technology to help us decarbonize our own operations, like hydrogen. And we are taking it to our customers. As Apple purchased, as you saw, Apple has purchased zero carbon analysis metal from us for their MacBook Pro product line. And this year, we partnered with Anheuser-Busch InBev to produce the first low carbon can for Michelob Ultra. And just last month, Rio Tinto and Schneider Electric signed an MOU for collaboration to develop a circular, sustainable market ecosystem for both companies and our customers. We need to work on our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, but sustainability is a team sport, and multi-commodity partnerships are absolutely required to solve for ESG, especially if we want to meet those stated zero emissions targets. We say our Scope 3 could be your Scope 1 or 2, and vice versa. And a data-driven digital solution helps us all stay on track with traceability and tracking of our progress. So let me introduce START. We launched START earlier this year. START is Sustainability Traceability Assurance from Rio Tinto. And again, referring to what David says, it starts with the mining company, so it starts with us. It is our work to bring radical transparency to our supply chain's efforts around ESG progress. And all of this is brought to the market on a blockchain technology. Why blockchain, if you ask me? Trust. Trust in the supply chain data and its usage. Think about the nutrition label on the back of almost all food products today. START does exactly the same for the aluminum industry, giving choice for a more sustainable supply chain. START will help customers meet the demand from consumers for transparency on where and how the products they purchase are made. Data can then be used to make material choices and supplier choices. Digital solutions allows us to communicate to the consumers who are the ultimate decision makers in a simple and succinct form. And digital allows us to tell our narrative, our stories, in a much more powerful manner. With the information provided by START, with products like START, customers can then measure and track the carbon footprint they have generated throughout their supply chain, all the way to the end products. The use of digital solutions like blockchain helps with problems tracking, thus helping demonstrate to authorities that supply chain have met regulatory requirements. This is especially critical in the world of USMCA, rules of origin, or carbon border adjustment mechanisms. The high level of interest in START corroborates that sustainability is a team sport. We need like-minded partners to come together and work together. And that's what our partnership with Schneider Electric underscores. This model will enable us to leverage each other's know-how in the commodity space to accelerate the decarbonization journey with our partners. As they say, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We are excited to be on this journey with our customers and partners, and together we can create a more empowered, sustainable future. Thank you, Susan, and back to you now.
Thank you so much, Paramita. It's good to hear that you get what it says on the label with Rio Tinto. You also mentioned paradigm change, so that would be a good point to hear from our host, Aviva, who's at the starting point of that paradigm change. And for that, we have the great benefit of Martin Provencher, Industry Principal for Mining, Metals and Materials at Aviva. And you join us from Canada. Great to see you.
Thank you, Susan. Great to see you too. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. So today, mining and metals companies are under lots of pressure. I mean, from employees, customers, investors. They have to take into consideration the sustainability aspect of their business, the same way as we've seen with safety in the past 10 years. IDC's analysis are actually showing that companies with an ongoing sustainability strategy combined with a long-term digital transformation agenda outperforms their competitors in terms of revenue growth and profitability. Actually, according to IDC, 27% of mining and metals organizations identified the need to improve brand equity as a top driver for sustainability compared with the overall industry average of 18%. So almost 10% more than the industry average. Actually, sustainability refers to the execution of business activities in a way that minimizes the utilization and consumption of resources and also minimizes the impact on the natural environment. So operators need to balance safety, on-time performance, compliance, and of course, capacity in an ever-changing landscape. And to do this, knowledge workers need better tools to gain the insight, take action before the impacts happen. And that is what we call operational excellence. Now at Aviva, we have committed to sustainability in our ESG, environmental, social, and governance vision statement. We combine the power of information and artificial intelligence with human insight to elevate industry's performance, driving sustainability and growth, of course. We acknowledge our ability and responsibility to positively impact our world and our people through those three pillars: operational footprint, technology handprint, and our inclusive culture. We work with our mining community to help improve the circularity of the industry through 5 different steps of focus. First, of course, the circular supplies, such as the iron ore or aluminum, which are materials that can be melted and reused. The resource recovery aspect, for example, improved recovery rates in gold, copper, and other minerals using less water and energy to produce more is of course significant. The product life extension technology can now provide asset life extension, which leads to lower levels of replacement of equipment, reducing materials consumption, for example, or metals consumption. The sharing platforms, our technology provides shared platforms across geographies, business functions, and production, which of course lowers the need to travel and reduces the overall CO2 emissions in the process. And finally, product as a service with cloud architectures and subscription models that enables us to help our customers reduce their infrastructure costs. Now here we can see a good example of a company improving their environmental performance with the use of their real-time operational data platform. Following an expansion project, it became difficult for the operators at Barrick Nevada Gold Strike Mine to follow all the actions required to comply with the environmental regulations. So they've used their operational data platform to implement those compliancy rules. And now the system is actually managing and tracking some critical equipment from an environmental compliancy perspective. And of course, it's alerting them whenever there could be a potential deviation. So it helped Barrick reduce its deviations by 45%, which is a huge improvement in terms of sustainability. Now, in this other example, we see that Syncrude, which is a crude oil company mining the oil sands in Alberta and Canada, they operate mining mobile equipment in a harsh environment, as you can see, and they started monitoring the operational data of their mining trucks. This actually helped them reduce their maintenance costs significantly, but it also helped them improve their dumping procedure compliancy, since their operators now can see in real time if they comply or not with the procedure. It reduced non-compliance by 85%, which of course helps in reducing the accidents. So a very good example of using operational data to help improve safety here. And here's another great example from Southern Copper in Peru, which integrated the operational data from different sources, and they started doing advanced analytics to help improve their production processes. This resulted in an increase in the ore milling and at the same time helped decrease the water and energy consumption, which led to $800,000 savings per month, as the company stated in this presentation. Another very good example in using operational data combined with analytics to help improve sustainability performance. Now, in summary, succeeding in such a sustainable approach requires those 3 main elements. First, the use of new optimizing technologies, starting with smarter engineering solutions, IoT, cloud platforms, asset performance management solutions, data analytics, and AI, and many more can help manage sustainability in the context of production targets. But first, As Ben said initially, a comprehensive strategic plan should be built to identify the goals that will enable meaningful delivery against a corporate sustainable strategy. And of course, optimizing the management of these tools will require a single integrated platform capable of digesting, interpreting, and reporting the data, especially the operational data. This is an important piece of the technology roadmap and should be the first step towards a successful digital transformation journey for sustainable mining. Thank you very much. And now turning it back to you, Susan.
Martin, thanks very much. And we've already got some questions for you and David about how Aviva and Schneider Electric are helping customers, enticing customers to adopt sustainability strategies. But first, let's go to Brazil and hear from Valet. This global leader is represented today by Gilberto da Cunha Vieira and Paulo Henrique Fontes Cora. Over to you, gentlemen. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to be here. My name is Gilberto. Here I have with me Paulo, and I will show you some case, a short case of partnership with Schneider and Aviva in our process, and to unify mining operations for safety and sustainability. And like Susan said, I'm talking from Brazil, exactly in the state of Minas Gerais, and we are here. A lot of mines subdivided in 4 complexes. Each complexes we have a production system, and responsible to all of the automation system, and each mine with the control room, and our system, our basic control systems we have here, it's controllers by Schneider and hot standby, and integrating with the field instrumentation in Profibus network by network management with Cisco. And here start the partnership with Schneider and the long history with Valet and Schneider, because we have 2 years ago migrating the controllers to new hardwares, M580, and this is the 5th or 6th generation of controllers by Schneider since the beginning, when Valet 40 years ago started the first controllers by Schneider, exactly the Modcon 184, and now we have changed all the controllers for the new M518. Here we have the timeline when Valet decided to unify the operation control center and for each complex. So since 2017, we started the first labs, the first tests, finding a lot of solutions to migrate the SCADA system for our plants to a new that we can, it's possible, put standardized libraries, screens, showing the same control operation, an integrated control operation. And here started we development, and until in the end of 2020-21, finalized the documentation to Aviva Wonder System platform. And that's the idea for our solution. Here, the idea is to integrate the controllers by Schneider with the supervisor system, standardizing architecture per site. This idea, it's a mix the solution that Valet and Aviva talking to find the best technical solution to operate the control rooms. And here in one side, you can see the servers in virtual machines, and the operating hot standby with physical machines. And all the clients connected in the same the same system, totally transparent for the operators. And this is the best solution Valet and Aviva found to start from the integration control room. And here you can see the unified architecture integrate our sites. We have here, exactly here in Tabira, where we are, we have integrated control center, and with many mines operating the plants in the same place. That's the best solution we have to sustainability of our operations, in partnership with Schneider and Aviva to operate the plants with safety, with quality, and with all the plants with the same decisions, the same strategies, and that's the Valet wants to start since last year. And now finalizing what we want to our benefits or targets Valet and Aviva want to know. To efficient, safe, and sustainability in the operations, we want find the full visibility and compatibility, the increase in our efficiency and productivity, the safety in remote monitoring, because a lot of plants operate in the same control room, and some mines we have 1 hour, one hour and a half, and standardize the same system, the same solution. Many mines operating with the same screens, same libraries, and after all, we have a shortened development time. When everything it's ready, it's simple to increase in mines, to develop more screens and more process in the same systems. That's all. We come back to Susan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that insight into how safety is really affected by those sustainable strategies that you are implementing there at Valet. So great to hear from you. Thank you so much for that, Gilberto. And thanks also to Paolo. Now to your questions. We already have a question from Sudibayo, I hope I pronounced that correctly. And this is for you, David Willick of Schneider Electric. Sudibayo wants to know, what challenges does Schneider Electric face in implementing sustainable policies in practice? And how have you coped with those challenges, David?
Yes, thank you very much. So those, there's always significant challenges when any change is adopted, but fundamentally, we have to stay focused on the goals and focus on the strategy. And so by implementing first the overall strategic vision, and then taking incremental steps towards that overall strategy. And so getting to net zero is difficult, it's challenging, and it's a big step. So what we found is breaking down those steps into smaller pieces that align with the overall strategic direction is the best way forward.
Thanks very much indeed. And I think it would be a good point now to throw to Martin Provinger from Aviva. With all due respects, the mining industries have been kind of reluctant or a little bit slow to embrace sustainability strategies. So what are you doing at Aviva to try to encourage mining companies to be sustainable and adopt those strategies?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks, Susan. Actually, Aviva designed products that can help increase, of course, efficiency, reduce emissions, and optimize operations, etc. Actually, 9 out of the top 10 metals and mining company are actually using or have deployed Aviva solutions. So first, we're helping them understand the value they can get through a digital transformation using such technologies. Again, as David was saying, with a step-by-step approach, starting with an operational data platform, such as a PI system, it allows them to collect the operational data coming from all those different assets, sensors, control systems that they have. Usually they have multiple different control systems coming with different assets or equipments that they're buying. So this, once they collect all that information, this will allow those organizations to visualize the whole production supply chain, which of course helps empowering employees by providing them a way to see the big picture of their operations. This is actually the first step in the digital transformation journey, and it will help improve, of course, efficiency. It will enable for example, simple real-time analytics created by subject matter experts at the mine. So it also empowers their people, such as, for example, condition-based maintenance or condition-based process monitoring. It will also eventually enable the use of advanced analytics and artificial intelligence to help optimize even further the resource usage and the production efficiency at a mine. So again, this is a journey and it should be taken into a step-by-step approach. This is very important. Turning it back
Thanks very much. So let's cross back to Chicago now. I think it would be a good point to hear more from Rio Tinto. And for that, we have the great benefit of Paramita Das. Paramita, you spoke about the importance of partnerships in your presentation. Can you just give us a bit more insight into how this helps deliver or reduce carbon emissions?
Sure, Susan. If you allow me to just make one comment as I start. Yes, mining industry is slow on the uptake, but mining industry has been on this journey for a very long time. Case in point, the world's largest robot is actually owned by not a technology company, but a mining company, Rio Tinto. We have been in autonomous trucks, autonomous trains. We have been using artificial intelligence and machine learning for a very long time. And that has been possible thanks to partners, just like Martin mentioned. Now, let's look at the future. Sustainability is a mammoth task when you talk about the targets around net zero. Now, each company is working vigorously around their own emissions. They're what we consider as scope 1 and scope 2. But when it comes to scope 3, that's where we are all integrated and the numbers have to flow. As we say, my scope 3 could be somebody else's scope 1 and 2, and vice versa. Your scope 3 could be sitting with me. So if we have to get to net zero, we have to work together in partnership. And you have seen Rio Tinto do that at several points with partnerships with Apple and even our competitors on the ELYSIS joint venture. and which was also joined by the Canadian and the Quebec government. We have partnership in place with the world's largest brewer, Anheuser-Busch InBev, because they had a target and we needed to make sure that we understand from them directly what exactly that they need and how can we play our role in helping them. Now, I'll give you an example, Susan. In any value chain, if I take aluminum, for example, in any value chain, 80% of the emissions sits with the mining and metal company, as an example. So it bears on us that we do our part, and that involves a whole suite of our give. Not all of them need to core competency, and that's where partners like Schneider come in and help us. And we help them because many of the products that Schneider was making could potentially originate from the low carbon materials that we produce. So partnership in the world of sustainability is not just mission critical, it's absolutely required if we have to attain our future of net zero emissions collectively. Back to you, Susan.
Thanks very much, Paramita. And yeah, please don't take it personally when I said that the mining industry has been slow to adopt the strategies. I know that you're walking the walk. You're not just talking the talk at Rio Tinto. So thanks very much for that insight. Now, when we talk about trying to encourage companies to adopt sustainable strategies, there's no better way, surely, than bonuses. And that's something that Benjamin Kirkwood from IDC was talking about at the beginning of this webinar. So, Ben, you've just done a report at IDC, which basically shows that those companies that have adopted sustainability strategies are more profitable. Can you just break that down? Give us a bit more insight on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And great question. So when we did that, and we performed that analysis on about 680 odd companies which we then went on to analyze to dictate whether or not they implemented a digital transformative agenda. And we did that by identifying several use cases from our own digital transformation taxonomy. And then by researching these companies, identifying which ones were transformative, they actually had these use cases and those that didn't. And so we initially split the company data set of the 680 odd companies. And so we split it that way first. And then we found that about, it was something around 560 odd companies were implementing digital transformational agendas. So then we also, in analysing these companies, we looked at their profit and their revenue over a 5-year period starting in 2014, and so 2014 through to 2019. And once we had identified, and we took the 2014 as the base point and sort of how they increased or decreased over the next 5 years. Now, we found that the digital transformational companies performed better than those that weren't digital transformationally adept. And then we went one further and we took the 560 odd companies that were implementing the transformational strategies, and we assessed their sustainability credentials based on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. And so we took those companies with an index figure of 75, I think it was, as high. So we identified them as high sustainability companies. And then anything between 75 and 20, I believe, was medium, and then anything less than 20 was low. And so again, we assessed how those the companies performed over the next 5 years, and again using 2014 as the start point. And our research then showed that it went high sustainability performed the best, followed by medium, and followed by low. So it was quite it's reassuring to see. I think from a promotion, I suppose, of a sustainability perspective. So But back to you. Thanks, Susan.
Great. It is great to see. Thanks very much for that. And that question, I should have said, came from Aaron Shanker from Business Transformation. So thanks very much, Aaron, for that question. Got a question for Valet now. So Gilberto, this question is from Kim from Instrumentation and Control. And the question is, how is the Integrated Control Center helping Valet to be more efficient?
Thank you for the question, Susan. It's a very good question. What happens with all of the information in the integrated control room help us the more visibility, the more best decisions, and to have share the experience with all of the process and the operations. And this is the main benefits we have in an integration control center. And the best decisions for quality, for the production, and with all the operators share the ideas and the actions. This is the main benefits in the integration control room.
Gilberto, thank you so much for that. And I think that is all we have time for, unfortunately. So Benjamin Kirkwood from IDC, David Willick from Schneider Electric, Paramita Das from Rio Tinto, Martin Provencher from Aviva, Gilberto de Cunha Vieira and Paulo Enrique Fontes Cora from Valet. Thank you so much for that amazing insight into how your work is transforming the landscape of mining towards a better, safer, and more sustainable future. And thank you for all your questions. We will send you a press pack to your email straight after this event. If we haven't got to your question or you'd like to get in touch with any of your further thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. So please do use the Global Comms email we're going to leave you with right now. In the meantime, have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Susan.